You're going to love this. The gentleman from Fairfax, Mr. Surovell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be brief, speaking to the conference report. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate all the love going around the room, but there is a different point of view about this. And, well, listen, last year we got a budget. When was it? I think it was late June. And that's a little bit of a change, getting it early for once. And I remember the first time I was here, first session I was here, we were lucky enough to have a budget that was still warm to vote on when it was on my desk. And I think we have made some progress in transparency. I think the small group meetings have been in advance. I think the 48-hour rule is definitely welcome, and I hope we can adhere to that going forward, or those of you that get to stay here, unlike me, get to adhere to it going forward. And I think getting it here early so that we have some time to think about it and our constituents can look at it is great. And I think some of us are pleased that the other side, that you all have conceded our points that we're not funding education enough. We highlighted the teacher salary problem, and we have some money for teacher salaries. It doesn't go far enough for a lot of us. There's more money for higher ed. We think we can do better. We're happy to see that we actually funded some judgeships, and we're finally closing that gap that we created in 2010, and that we're making progress there. And we're also happy to see that the other side conceded our position on preschool, that we're not going to raid preschool money. We're actually going to hold education mostly harmless, and we're making progress there. But the minority leader's right in that this doesn't go far enough, and we also appreciate it's an election year, and it's important for us to get home. Everybody wants to cooperate, and we also know that it's a tough year to make some tough choices. But this budget also does not deal with a lot of continuing, festering, long-term problems in this state. The first one of which is Medicaid. Now, listen, we are happy that you all have decided to expand Medicaid. Because make no mistake, we are expanding Medicaid. This GAP program is a Medicaid expansion, and a green vote for this budget is a vote to expand Medicaid. We are happy to see that you all are going to take that small step with us. But it doesn't go far enough. $1.8 billion. As of today, there is $1,854,125,000 of federal money we have left on the table. That's $18.5 million a delegate. And by the time we get back here next year, it's going to be nearly $40 million per delegate in this room of money that we have turned away. Expanding Medicaid is reasonable, it's prudent, it's fiscally responsible, it's fiscally conservative. It puts more money in our budget, it creates 30,000 jobs. And as somebody who represents 80,000 people, of which 5,000 people would get insurance, that would create at least 300 or 400 jobs in the area that I represent, probably create thousands of jobs in the county I represent. We are not being responsible to our constituents. We're not being responsible to the state. We are leaving money on the table. And I cannot vote for a budget that sends my taxpayer dollars to California, New York, Ohio, Tennessee, or any other 32 states in this country that have chosen to take a very reasonable, prudent, fiscally conservative step that the only reason it's being obstructed is for politics. And from our point of view, from a lot of our point of view over here, a vote for this budget and not to take that step is not responsible. Mr. Speaker, we also don't believe this goes far enough in education. We're still funding education. There are raises in there. That's good. We're still not fully funding costs to compete. We could do better on raises. We're still using a funding formula that's decades old, that doesn't acknowledge the realities of English as a second language, of special needs students, the things that truly drive costs in our education system. We're not dealing with that problem, which is a problem that I hear about weekly. I hear about this weekly, about this formula that we use to fund education. I mean, we are getting raises, but the state's only going to pick up 18, 20% of it in the locality I represent. That is not acceptable to some of us. And as the minority leader pointed out, our tax preferences are not being dealt with. We have this outdated tax preference for coal. We have the online tax loophole we haven't dealt with. We're still giving $6.5 million a year to movie stars. We're doing $4 million for yachts. We're doing $25 million for private schools in this budget. That's not acceptable. Mr. Speaker, the biggest thing is that we also still have a $100 billion unfunded transportation capital need over the next 20 years. And I know people don't like to talk about it. The bill we passed last year or 2 years ago took some steps. But there are still massive transportation funding needs that we're not dealing with. And we can continue to stick our heads in the sand and pretend like these problems are going to go away and not deal with it because it's an election year, but these problems are going to continue to exist. And until we stand up and step up and lead, There's some of us on the other side here, Mr. Speaker, that feel like we have to send the message that we have not gone far enough and we cannot support the budget. Thank you.